As a fighter, he's amazing fighter. He has great technique. He has crazy knockout power.
We all know Tank best weight is 35, 40. He fought Barrios at 40, 35, 40. And you fight Jake Paul, who's getting better. I'm like I said, and he got 6 feet tall. Where Tank gonna hit him?
Gervonta "Tank" Davis kicked off his training camp for the Jake Paul fight with explosive energy, immediately sending a message about his intent. On day 1, he unleashed a blistering 35-punch combination during pad work, displaying his trademark speed, precision, and knockout power. His sharp movement and focus made it clear Davis is preparing to break down Jake Paul with experience, discipline, and relentless pressure. The buzz only grew when Davis took to Instagram, telling fans, "See y'all soon. I guess ATL is going to be two-turned." He followed with, "Tell them to send that bag, and I'm coming." The post carried 2 messages. Davis is hungry to step back into the ring, and is equally committed to ensuring the business side of boxing respects his value. In today's era, where fighters balance legacy with financial security, his words struck a chord. This wasn't just casual hype, it was a declaration. Tank is locked in, motivated, and unwilling to compromise on his worth. The combination of excitement for competition and a firm stance on proper compensation paints the picture of a fighter who knows exactly what he brings to the sport, and is ready to prove it again under the brightest lights. Before the fight was even confirmed, Gervonta Davis had been outspoken about Jake Paul's presence in boxing. He dismissed Paul's efforts as trash, echoing the skepticism many traditional fighters feel toward celebrities crossing into the sport. Davis suggested that Paul turned to boxing out of boredom with ventures like YouTube, a critique that underscored the tension between boxing purists and the new wave of entertainment-driven fighters. Yet, despite Tank's early dismissal, Paul's persistence has demanded recognition, even from the sport's elite. The fact that Davis is now preparing to face him in the ring is proof of how far Paul has come. What was once written off as a gimmick has transformed into one of the most talked-about events in boxing, blending spectacle with genuine competition.
I text that today. Tell them boys to give me 150 M's. I'm coming. You know what I mean? When I start streaming out that, and that, stop it, knock it off, cuz. Stop it. Tell them send that bag, and I'm coming. And I'm, you know.
The Davis vs. Paul showdown has ignited a heated debate across boxing circles. For many purists, the matchup is confirmation of their worst fears, that boxing is drifting away from being a sport defined by merit and legacy and leaning more towards spectacle and showmanship. Critics argue the fight cheapens the sport's integrity, framing it as more of a circus act than a true clash of elite athletes. But there's another perspective worth considering. Boxing has always balanced sport with entertainment. From Muhammad Ali's larger-than-life charisma to Mike Tyson's pay-per-view dominance, spectacle has long been woven into the fabric of the game. In that sense, Davis vs. Paul is less of a departure and more of a continuation of boxing's dual identity. Ultimately, whether fans view this bout as a mockery or a moneymaker depends on where they stand in the ongoing tug-of-war between legacy and entertainment.
What do you think of former athletes and celebrities like Jake Paul taking up boxing? You think that grows the sport?
If he's doing it for the right reason, actually want to do it because of just like actually want to box, it's cool. But if he's doing it for like the wrong reason, just to get the hype and stuff like that, I feel as though it's trash. Sometimes people get bored at what they doing, and they want to try other stuff. Got to be mentally tough to be able to box. So that's why I don't take that away from some fighters or some people that want to jump into the sport. So just show how tough you are. That's how it should be.
For sure. That's all I got. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Former super middleweight contender Jesse Hart pushed back against the criticism aimed at Gervonta Davis for taking the Jake Paul fight. Hart argued that detractors are missing the bigger picture. Davis isn't turning his back on legacy but rather navigating the realities of modern boxing. Tank has the right to prioritize financial opportunities, even if some see it as joining the circus, Hart said, emphasizing that business decisions are just as crucial as in-ring accomplishments. His defense highlights the divide within the boxing community. Some fighters and fans believe Davis should focus on opponents like Shakur Stevenson or Teofimo Lopez to cement his legacy, while others understand that a lucrative matchup with a globally recognized figure like Paul is too significant to dismiss. Hart's perspective frames Davis's choice not as a betrayal of the sport but as a calculated business move. And while many analysts still back Davis as the favorite, opinions remain split on what this fight truly represents.
Boxing has gone too far. Jake Paul is taking on Gervonta "Tank" Davis in an exhibition bout this November. The fight will be taking place in Atlanta between the cruiserweight and the 135-pounder, nearly a 100-pound difference between the two guys. This is absolutely insane. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below.
Boxing commentator Andy Ross offered a surprising take by predicting that Jake Paul will come out on top. While he acknowledged that the matchup is a win-win for both fighters, Ross argued that Paul's size and awkward, unconventional style could tilt the fight in his favor. His perspective highlights the intrigue surrounding this clash. Despite lacking Davis's pedigree, Paul's physical advantages, self-confidence, and unpredictable approach introduce a real element of uncertainty. Ross's prediction may not sit well with purists, but it reflects a growing group who believe Paul deserves more respect than many in the boxing world are willing to give. Still, doubts linger among insiders about whether the bout will even materialize, adding yet another layer of suspense to the unfolding narrative.
If you want to join the circus, that's the circus. I don't see the value, see money in that, involved in that. They want the money. If that's what they want to do, then go ahead and get the money. But other than that, it's not a guy, Jake Paul, that's what, 6'3", 6'4", come on. Then you got a guy, Gervonta Davis, that's like 5'5", a medium guy. Yeah. Y'all gonna try to 200 pounds. But just for Mike Tyson there, I'm gonna throw him in there with a 135 and get the circuit. And that's what they want to do to get money, to generate money in the sport of boxing instead of Gervonta Davis. This is a legacy fight. He was supposed to fight Lamont Roach after this. Then he say, no. Think about it. You really can't say too much. When you say Gervonta "Tank" Davis and you say Lamont Roach, there's still a question mark on that fight. There was still a question mark on that rumble. You just gonna leave it and then go right to the money and say, no, I ain't. That's how you know legacy is everything don't matter. I did that before. I took the money with the Joe Smith fight. When my hand was fucked up, and excuse my language, my hand was messed up, broke training camp, and I still said, yo, no. What? I'm taking that. I'm still fighting him. I'm not gonna not fight him again. I'm gonna fight. We're fighting him, Dad. We're fighting him, Rick. We're fighting him, Fred. I want to get everybody. Jesse, don't take the fight, man. Let your hand heal. Let's get the surgery. No, I'm fighting him. It's too close. 3 weeks out, I'm fighting him.
Coach Bernie outright dismissed the matchup, saying he doesn't believe it will ever happen, not even as an exhibition. In his view, the fight lacks real purpose or credibility and represents more hype than substance. His skepticism echoes a familiar pattern, as many high-profile crossover bouts have collapsed during negotiations in the past. Bernie's doubts reflect a broader unease within boxing about fully embracing celebrity-driven events. Yet with both Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul publicly committed, his outlook may ultimately be proven wrong. Still, his comments underline an important truth. Even inside the sport, many remain unconvinced about the legitimacy of this fight.
Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Davis.
Crazy.
Your thoughts on this?
I have locks with Snaggy right there. I think Jake Paul wins that fight. Look, obviously Gervonta Davis has way more experience. He's a hell of a fighter. He's done so much more for boxing and than a lot of people. But to say that, that's not, everyone's gonna want to watch that fight. I think it's a genius idea. I think Jake Paul sets the craziest expectations, and I think he sets the bar so high now in the boxing world. Jake Paul revived boxing. People can say what they want to say about it, but Jake Paul really revived the sport of boxing. Joe Rogan once said previously, not so long ago, but he did speak about how boxing would eventually die out and all the eyes would shift to MMA. And it's true. I sit there, I watch UFC whenever there's an amazing pay-per-view event. I'm always watching it. Boxing, I don't really watch it as much. And yeah, you can call me a casual to the sport. I'm just getting into it. But to people that are just getting into the sport, UFC is like the new boxing, what it was 20, 30 years ago. So Jake Paul is changing and reviving the sport of boxing, in my opinion. But I think that Jake Paul wins that fight. I love Gervonta as a fighter. I think he's amazing. He has great technique. He has crazy knockout power. Don't underestimate.
Spoken to him before, haven't you?
Yeah.
When you're doing it was you and Ron Garcia and Gervonta and Tank when they were fighting.
Yeah. I just spoke with Gervonta today, actually. So When I get back to Miami, him and I might do something. I don't know, but you know, I think, like I said, don't count him out. But I think Jake Paul wins that fight.
Beyond the financial windfall, some analysts view Jake Paul's decision as a calculated move toward legitimacy. For years, he has fought an uphill battle for respect, often dismissed as nothing more than a YouTuber dabbling in boxing. Yet his persistence and wins over former MMA champions have steadily raised his profile. Now, by stepping in against Gervonta Davis, an undefeated world champion with devastating knockout power, Paul is making his boldest bid yet to be taken seriously. Analysts argue that if he can hold his own, even in defeat, Paul will secure a level of credibility that critics can no longer ignore.
I don't see, even at an exhibition. Now, first of all, we went with the Mike Tyson thing, right? So Mike Tyson's 60 years old. You know, obviously we all thinking that, you know, he had to pull his punches against Jake. Either one of them, both of them had to do something to get through the fight, you know, so they couldn't do their 100% thing in the fight. Now we talking about a 135-pound guy, 5'3", right, against a 6 foot, 200-pound guy. What is the point of that? I'm asking you, what is the point of that? What is the point of that, and how you think that's gonna go? So Jake Paul, just alone, on strength alone, Tank is not a, we just seen him struggle with Lamont Roach, right? Who's the guy his size. Now, Jake Paul is not as talented as Lamont Roach, but come on now, we ain't talking about 2 weight classes. We talking about 4, 5, 6 weight classes. We got to go from 35, we got to go to 40, 47, 54, 60, 68, 75, 90. That's 7 weight class difference. 7 weight class difference. 7 weight class difference. We talking about 7 weight class difference. We all know Tank's best weight is 35, 40. Barrios at 40, 35, 40. And you fight Jake Paul, who's getting better. I'm like I said, and he got 6 feet tall. Where Tank gonna hit him? Where is Tank gonna land a punch? And he don't throw a lot of punches. Come on now. He didn't knock Lamont Roach out. He gonna knock Jake Paul out. So what's the point of the exhibition for real?
For Gervonta Davis, this fight isn't viewed as a career risk but rather as a chance to elevate his brand. Analysts point out that a win over Jake Paul would only boost Davis's popularity, particularly among casual fans who don't typically follow traditional boxing. With Paul's massive global reach, Tank's name would be introduced to an entirely new audience. Importantly, taking this fight doesn't close the door on legacy-defining matchups. On the contrary, bouts with top contenders, such as a potential rematch with Lamont Roach, remain very much on the table afterward. In that light, the Jake Paul fight serves as a springboard, not a setback, giving Davis the spotlight to grow his profile before diving back into the rivalries that shape his legacy.
Definitely, like, watch the respect. He doesn't want to get that type of, you know, I don't know, circus-like. You know, people think that doing these fights throne not legitimate, you know, and just trying to give society, like, okay, you got your wall, behind but Jack and I brought a real fine deal. So people are like not legit people. So to everything I've seen on him, if he can beat Tank Davis, I think he'll have his legitimacy. If he can beat or do something like Rocky 1 to where you got people questioning who won, then he's gonna get all the respect in the world. That's how I feel. Because I've seen destroy people's bodies, crazy. You know, you know what I'm saying? Tank is